Hi, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove, and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer questions related to dietary, nutrition, training, and supplementation that I've received over the past 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as some of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions with regards to your workouts or your diet or your supplements, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can also send them to me on my Instagram. My ID number is fitcosgrove_. You can reach me on Instagram as well. Before we start, just a reminder that it is Pink Shirt Day in Canada. It was on Wednesday yesterday, but we're celebrating it all week. If you want to make any donations to anti-bullying programs, you can go to pinkshirt.ca. Okay, and I think it's a great cause. Anything you can donate, if there's $10, $50, $100, everything helps. And that website is still open right now for donations. So that's pinkshirt.ca. I'll put the description in the link below. Yeah, guys, this is something that's really important. A lot of people think when they think of bullying, they only think of kids, and yeah, kids get bullied, but bullying happens all the time, whether it's online, in person, it happens in the office, it happens to adults. I've seen bullying happen at my gym. So it's something that should be addressed. And I think it's great if, we can all show our support. And don't just wear pink on Wednesday, wear pink for the whole week. I've been wearing pink every day. I think the pink looks good on me. Okay, so let's get started with this week's Q&A. Okay, so let's get started. First question of the week. All right, over here. Hi, okay. Hi, Nick. Why does leg day boost my libido? For some reason, a few hours after intense leg workout, all I can think about is sex. It's actually quite common. I work with a lot of men and a lot of women who have said the same thing to me. They notice an increase in libido as they work out more intensely, more frequently. And one of the reasons I believe that is because we know this, exercise does boost testosterone levels, in men anyways. There are no studies that show that it boosts testosterone levels in women, but in men, we do know that working out regularly, exercising regularly, will help boost your testosterone levels, which of course will help boost your libido as well. I do believe, even though there's no conclusive studies that show this, that this does the same effect for women as well. And I just think, exercise, it makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel good about your body, about your image, how gives you more energy. So it makes sense that it would increase your libido, right? Now, I don't know why you're feeling an increase of libido, in particular on leg day. I know for myself personally, after leg day, I'm pretty wiped for about 2 or 3 hours afterwards. But usually after I get a little bit post-workout meal in me, I feel great. And yeah, my libido is nice and strong. So just one more reason to work out, right, and exercise regularly is that it does help increase libido. We know this. But the reason I think this is because it does help elevate testosterone levels. And the person asking me this question is a man. So in your case, I believe it's because you are increasing your testosterone levels, and you might even be increasing them a little bit more with a leg workout because it's a larger muscle group. So that can be the reason why you feel it more on a leg workout as opposed to, let's say, an upper body workout. So again, just one more reason to work out regularly: high sex drive. Next question. Hey, Nick, do you think that squatting can lead to hemorrhoids? My friend told me that if I squat too heavy, I could get them. I absolutely do believe that squatting too heavy and too frequently can lead to hemorrhoids. I have a client that used to work in the Navy, and he told me that he got hemorrhoids from sitting on, I think it was this like aluminum stool for 8 to 10 hours a night. And he said, or was it steel? I think it was steel, a steel stool. And he said that's how he got them. I had another client who was used to ride motorcycles, and he'd ride them every day. He was a B Cop, and he said that's how he got his hemorrhoids. So we know for prolonged periods of sitting, right, that can cause hemorrhoids. But squatting can also cause hemorrhoids because when you think about it, especially if you're exerting a lot of force and a lot of energy, and if you have poor technique, that can definitely lead to hemorrhoids. So what I'd recommend for people who are, when it comes to squatting, is keep your squat workouts to once a week. You shouldn't be squatting more than once a week. And I've said this before, there's no reason, if you're squatting intense enough, once a week should be more than enough. Another thing I'd recommend is you don't have to squat super heavy. Over the years, I've squatted, the most I've ever squatted is 315, which is heavy for me. And I've never really gone more than that. And the reason I don't go more than that, I don't feel it necessary to go more than that. And I also keep my reps fairly high. The lowest I'll ever go on my reps when it comes to squats is 10 reps. I always keep my reps within double digits. I don't go for these 3 or 4 reps. I think that's a good way to get injured. because obviously if you're only doing 3 or 4 reps, you're lifting really, really heavy weight. So I think that could lead to hemorrhoids. Yes. I do think also men are more prone to hemorrhoids than women are, but women do get hemorrhoids as well. But I do think that squatting too heavy and too frequently can definitely cause hemorrhoids. So my recommendation when it comes to squatting, once a week, do your 4, 5, 6 sets, whatever it is, barbell back squats, and move on to your lunges, your leg press, your step ups, your ball wall squats, whatever it is. But keep it at once a week, and also keep those reps in double digits. If your goal is to train purely for aesthetics and health, I would keep those reps always in double digits for everything you do. Unless you're a power lifter, there's really no reason to be pushing single digit repetitions. I see no reason for that. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. What are your thoughts on vitamin IV drips? I'm considering getting this done as I hate taking pills every day. So one of the advantages to doing vitamin IV drips is that the medication is administered right into your bloodstream right away through your vein, right? So that's one of the advantages to doing it through IV versus taking it orally. If you take your vitamins orally, they have to go through the digestive tract and they take longer for the body to absorb. And there are some so-called experts that say that your body won't absorb all the nutrients because it's going through your digestive tract. How they know this for sure, I don't know, because there's no real concrete evidence that can support this theory. Now, if you're asking me my own personal opinion when it comes to taking vitamins and minerals, I think taking them orally is actually better. And the reason I say that is because when you go for the vitamin IV drips, from my understanding, they usually recommend you go twice a month, right? And I think when you do that twice a month, you're at risk for, again, going into a vitamin deficiency because your levels are not stable throughout the month. They're going to go like this again, right? And whereas if you're taking something daily, such as vitamin C, vitamin D, on a consistent basis, ideally at the same time every day, you're going to stay in that stable level throughout. I don't personally think taking pills orally is that difficult to do. I'm currently taking vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin B, zinc, anything else, and omega-3s. And it's about 6 pills, and I take it all while my oatmeal is cooking. It takes me less than 45 seconds. Just down it all and it's done. So I don't really see the problem in taking pills every day. And I actually do think taking the vitamins orally is much more efficient than taking it through IV. Now, if you could get the IV drops done more regularly, like say every second or third day, maybe that might be more ideal, but I don't think people have the time or the money to do that a lot of times, right? Because it's quite expensive to do these vitamin IV drips. So between the two, I personally would stick with taking the vitamins orally. I have taken the IV drip. I did it, I think, 2 or 3 times. And I'll tell you, the first time I did it, I noticed maybe a slight boost in energy for 1 day. That was it. And I don't even know if that was placebo, but it was 1 day. So I don't think it's worth it. I think if you can, it's much more effective and much more cost effective to take them orally, your vitamins and minerals. Okay, next question. Hi, Nick. Between running a household with 2 kids under the age of 7 and working a full-time job, I can only manage to get in the gym 3 times a week. Would it be better to do 3 full body workouts, or should I work different muscle groups on each day? So if you're doing a 3-day split in the gym, what I'd recommend is training different muscle groups on each day. I wouldn't recommend 3 full body workouts. I think it's going to be more effective to do a workout, let's say day 1, chest, back, and abs, day 2, shoulders, biceps, triceps, core, and day 3, all lower body. I think that's going to be the most efficient and effective way to train. The problem if you do 3 full body workouts, and let's say your training split is on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so you have a day off in between, and then you have the weekend off. And let's say you do squats on Monday, and then you do lunges on Wednesday, and then you do leg press on Friday. Your legs really never get enough time to fully recover in between those workouts. And I'm just using the lower body as an example here, but you can use it as the shoulders, the same thing. If you do a shoulder press on Monday, a lateral raise on Wednesday, and then you do a rear delt raise on Friday, your shoulders don't get enough time to recover. So what I find to be the most effective way to train is that if you train each muscle group on their own day. So in a case of working on 3-day split, doing that chest, back day 1, shoulders, arms day 2, and then legs day 3, and then throwing in the abs and the core on day 1 and day 2, that to me is going to be more effective because you're going to be able to work each muscle group a little bit more intensely, and then you can give it a whole 7 days to recover. Now, if you're only in the gym once a week, sometimes I have people who are traveling a lot and their schedule is really busy and they can only see me once a week. Then what I'll usually do with those people is I'll give them one full body workout. Again, it's not ideal, but we do what we have to do. If we only get that one workout in a 7-day span, I'm going to make sure it's a full body workout, but I'll still make sure that I program accordingly. And with that said, what I'll do is I'll usually do circuit training and I'll combine agonist versus antagonist muscle groups, chest, back, and abs, for example, in one circuit, biceps, triceps, and maybe shoulders in the second circuit, right? And let's say I'm doing quadriceps and hamstrings in the third circuit. So I'm making sure that my circuits still make sense and that my program makes sense. I don't just throw every muscle group together and see what happens, because that's a good way to get injured. So you have to make sure you're programming in an intelligent manner. So yeah, when it comes to, if you have 3 times a week to work out in the gym, that's actually more than enough though. Honestly, if you're managing to run a household with 2 kids under 7 and if you're getting in the gym 3 times a week, that's amazing. Good for you. And I would keep it at 3 days split though. That's what I'd recommend. Okay, next workout. Oh no, next question. Okay. Nick, most overrated exercise and most underrated exercise, and why? Well, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that question before. That's a really good question. Okay, so most overrated exercise, in my opinion, I'm going to give it to deadlifts. I haven't deadlifted since 2003, 2004. Pretty much every single person I know that deadlifts has had some kind of lower back injury over the years, whether it's a herniated disc, a slip disc, it's a torn hamstring sometimes, a glute issue in their glutes, whether it's some kind of aggravation in their IT band, hip flexor, and it's usually caused by deadlifts. I always ask them, what were you doing? Oh, deadlifting. So whenever I look at an exercise, I always assess the risk to benefit ratio. If the exercise has a higher risk than benefit, I don't do it. And same thing, I don't give it to my clients. I don't have any of my clients doing deadlifts. Straight leg hamstring deadlifts, yes, I have them doing that. But when it comes to straight bar deadlifts, I don't have a single one of my clients doing deadlifts. So I do think that's an overrated exercise simply because of the risk to benefit ratio. When we grow up in the fitness industry, especially in the bodybuilding industry, you're told you have to deadlift. And so I used to deadlift, but what I found for me, deadlifts really didn't work well for me at all. I'd always have back issues. I'd always be tight the next day. I'd be so sore I couldn't squat. So no matter what I did, no matter how I rearranged my training split around the deadlifts, it didn't help. So I just got rid of them. And yeah, over the years, I've stopped giving them the clients, and knock on wood, I don't really have any clients that have any lower back issues. So I want to keep that record going. So if you're looking to work with a trainer that gives deadlifts, don't hire me. I don't do deadlifts. And when it comes to the most underrated exercise, okay, I'm going to give that to walking lunges. I think walking lunges actually, without a doubt, are definitely the most underrated exercise. I don't see enough people doing them, especially men. I see a lot of guys doing squats, leg press, hack squats, but they don't do lunges. A lot of the guys, I think they think lunges are a woman's exercise. If you want great legs, I always say this, train your legs like a woman. Look at women's legs. Women train their legs intensely, right? Guys don't really train their legs as intensely, most guys. And I've seen some women neglect not doing lunges too, but when it comes to, when I work with a lot of my clients, I have everyone, man or woman, doing lunges. But if I ever go to a commercial gym, I notice a lot of people kind of neglect that exercise. They stick to more of the compound movements. The great thing with walking lunges, though, is they actually help increase your mobility and your flexibility, especially when it comes to your hip flexors, your abductors, your IT band, your gluteus maximus, your quadriceps, your hamstrings. It's just an overall great lower body exercise. I'll work with some clients, and when I get them in a squat rack for the first time, their form is complete garbage. And that's just because they have the strength, but they don't have that mobility and flexibility. So usually what I'll do with those people is I'll get them to lunge at the beginning of their workout just to kind of loosen them up a little bit. If I do that, get them lunging for 5-10 minutes, and then I get them in a squat rack, their squat is perfect, like just perfect. Everything's nice and smooth. Their knees don't hurt them. Their hips feel good. So for some people, doing lunges prior to squats works really well. Not everybody, but for a lot of my clients, I'll have them do lunges at the beginning of the workout simply for that reason. So yeah, I think definitely when it comes to the most overrated exercises, I would say deadlifts hands down. And when it comes to the most underrated exercise, walking lunges. So if you're not doing walking lunges, start doing them now. All right, next question. Hey, Nick, what are your thoughts on functional training? I recently started working with a coach who only focuses on functional movements. I don't have an issue doing some functional work, but my main goal is to build muscle and lose my COVID belly. I just don't feel this type of training is intense enough to help me achieve my goals. Any help would be appreciated. Okay, so functional training definitely has its place, and I'll do a few functional exercises in my clients' programs. I'll add a few. But if your goal is to build muscle and lose fat, you can't just do functional training. I'm sorry, you can't. Because I'm going to be honest, functional training is not the most intense type of training out there. It really isn't. I mean, yeah, you can do a one-legged hip thrust or a upside down handstand or whatever, pulling on a cable with one arm with a very light weight just because you're trying to work your rotator cuff. If you've done functional training, you know what I'm talking about. It's really not that intense. You don't even break a sweat. So if your goal is to build muscle and lose fat, I wouldn't base your workout around functional training. Absolutely not. I personally would follow a bodybuilding split. Bodybuilding splits are great because they stimulate muscle growth. And not only that, the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn in a rested state. We know this. So if a client comes to me and says, hey, Nick, I want to build muscle and lose fat, I say, great, we're going to do a bodybuilding split. If client comes to me and says, I want to work on functional training, I say, I'm the wrong trainer for you. I don't do functional training. Like I said, I'll add in one or two functional exercises in a program, but I don't base my workouts around it. In the case of this person, if your coach is saying that he or she only does functional training and that's not the training style you want to focus on, then again, I would recommend hiring a different coach. Not every coaching and client relationship is going to gel. I've had people leave me. I don't take it personal. It is what it is. I'm not this coach for everybody, and that's okay. And at the end of the day, you have to assess, okay, what are my goals? Am I doing, is this workout helping me get to where I want to be? Am I going to get from point A to point B by following this type of program? Probably not. You might have more functionality in your day-to-day life, but if that's not one of your primary goals right now, then yeah, I would talk to your trainer and say, look, this is what my goal is. And if he or she is saying, well, I only do functional workouts, then I would switch trainers. And don't be afraid to tell your trainer, look, this is what I'm hiring you to do. If you can't do this, I'm going to go work with someone that can help me, period. Functional training does have its purpose. And I think what happens, especially for a lot of new trainers, because we're taught this in personal training school. I'll tell you right now, when I went to my personal training courses, the only thing we were taught were functional exercises. And coming from a bodybuilding background, I sat there thinking, okay, when does the workout start? And then the training program was over. I'm like, that's it. That's all I'm doing. I'm taking a cable and I'm pulling it back and forth like this for 15 minutes, or I'm standing on one leg doing a one-legged squat for 20 minutes. To me, that's not going to get me to where I want my goals. If I want to build muscle, I'm going to have to squat, double leg squats, lunges. I'm going to have to do bench press. I'm going to have to do cable rolls, lat pull down, shoulder press, lateral raises. I'm going to have to do all the bodybuilding movements, period. So functional training is not going to cut it. So again, if your goal is to build muscle, lose fat, a little bit of functional exercises here and there, no problem. But if your workouts are based around functional training, no, I don't think you're going to lose the belly, and I don't think you're going to gain the muscle. So change up your training format. All right, next question. Nick, serious question. Have you ever dated one of your clients? I'm curious, as I'm sure you have worked with some attractive women over the years, and you rarely talked about your personal life on the floor. You said no filter Q&A, so here you go. I really need to start screening these questions. I'm doing a really bad job at that. This is from one of my clients, and I had a feeling she'd ask me this question, so I'll answer it. Yes, I have dated a client years ago, going back, I want to say 2011 maybe. But it was a client who I had trained from, I believe, 2006 to about 2009, and then she left BC for 2 years. And she came back and she called me and we went out and yeah, we started dating. We dated for, I believe, 2 years. And yeah, it worked out. Well, it didn't work out. At the time, it worked out pretty well, but she wasn't the client of mine when I was dating her. And so to answer that question, I've never dated a client that is currently or was on my roster. So I never dated a client while I was training that person. And it was only one person, and that person was no longer a client of mine. So that answers your question. Yes. And would I date a client? The answer is no. I think that's incredibly unprofessional. I wouldn't date any of my clients. If there was someone that I was interested in and I was training them, I would probably refer them to someone else, and then I would pursue the relationship. But when it comes to dating clients, absolutely not. I think that's incredibly unprofessional. And I do know some trainers that have done that, and it's gotten them in quite a bit of trouble, both men and women who I know who have done that. And yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. And it's not just in the fitness industry. I've heard of chiropractors, physiotherapists, any job where you're getting physically close with somebody and you're working in a way, maybe in a one-on-one setting with them over time. Yeah, a relationship can develop, right? So if those feelings ever happen, my recommendation is to refer that client out. Definitely. You have to be a professional. You don't want to get that reputation as that trainer or chiropractor or physiotherapist or dentist or whatever profession you're in who dates their clients. It's not professional. It doesn't look good. So yes, to answer that question, one time, and it was a relationship that went, I believe, for, I want to say 1.5, 2 years. And that person had not been a client of mine for 2 years when we had started dating. Okay. So there you go. Don't date your clients unless they haven't trained with you or worked with you in maybe 2 or 3 years. That's what I'm going to go with that comment. All right. Next question. I really don't like answering questions like that. Okay. Hi, Nick. I know that you recommend consuming lots of healthy fats in your diet plans, but fats are so high in calories. Do you still recommend consuming lots of fats to your clients who are trying to lose weight, or do you put them on a low-fat diet until they lose the weight? So it's not that I recommend having lots of fats in your diet, because you're right. Fats do contain a lot of calories, 9 calories per gram to be precise. So you do have to be careful when you're consuming healthy fats. I remember a few years ago, I worked with a client. He still works with me today, but when he came to me, he was having a really hard time losing weight. So I said, send me your diet. I want to see. And it was loaded with fats, MCT oils, olive oil, peanut butter, almonds, eggs, avocado, all good, healthy fats, but he was having way too much of that. So he was in a caloric surplus. So there's no way he would lose the weight. So you have to be very careful with how you put in and you implement your fats throughout your diet plan. But here's the thing is that when it comes to losing fat, I don't put people on low fat diets. I'll usually put people on moderate carbohydrate, moderate fats, and high protein diets. And that's whether their goal is to lose fat or build muscle or a combination of the two. I think it's important to have an equal amount of nutrients coming into your body. Now, if someone, I also work with people though, and I pay attention to what works for my clients and what doesn't. Some people I work with work incredibly well on a higher fat, very low carbohydrate diet. And I work with other people who, just because maybe their digestive tract, for example, I have one client who had her gallbladder removed. So I have to be very careful as to how I put in her fats throughout her plan, because the body can't digest fats the same as someone who, for example, has a functioning gallbladder. So with that person, I'll put them on a fairly low fat and moderate carbohydrate diet and keep the protein levels fairly high. So really, that's an individual based question. But if your goal is to lose fat, you have to look overall at not just your fats. You should be looking at your carbs and your proteins as well. And you have to figure out whether your body responds better to carbohydrates or whether it responds better to fats, or maybe a combination of the two, just at moderate levels. For myself personally, I consume a lot of fats, a lot of carbs, and moderate protein. My protein levels aren't crazy high. But I find by keeping the fats at a fairly high base, what it does for me is that it keeps me full for the entire day. So if a lot of my clients, what I'll do when I do their nutritional plans, for example, when I rotate their plans from week to week, I rotate their macronutrients. So one week I might give them higher fats, lower carbs, and the following week I might give them higher carbs, lower fats. So I don't necessarily recommend decreasing your fats incredibly low if you're trying to lose weight, but just overall, you have to look at your macronutrients and your micronutrients, so the quality of the food you're consuming. That's incredibly important. Okay, so if you're looking for baseline numbers, it's very difficult for me to do that without knowing you and knowing, how much weight you have to lose, knowing what your workout program looks like, your training frequency, all those things. So those are all kinds of factors I take into consideration when designing a nutritional plan for somebody. And again, you have to be very careful. Stay away from, I always tell clients this, stay far away from low fat or no fat foods. I hate those foods. Those foods are usually induced with chemicals, sweeteners, all kinds of garbage. And they're usually, a lot of the low fat, no fat foods are very high in sugar. So be very careful when you're purchasing foods like that. I'd recommend just staying away from low fat, no fat, and really watch your sugar content. That is the number one thing. And I said this before on the channel, that when you read a nutritional label, you should be looking at. And if it contains, I'll say this again, if it contains more than 5 grams of sugar per serving, put it back. It's not worth it. You don't need it. Okay. So sugar is the number one thing you should be looking at, regardless if you're trying to lose weight or not. Just overall, if you want to be healthy, sugar is the number one thing you should be looking at. And as I mentioned last week on the channel, for men, I keep those sugar levels at about 30 grams a day. And for women, I keep it at about 25. And that's all through natural sugar. All right, next question. Hi, Nick. Just wondering what you think about intra-workout shakes. Are they necessary, and do they make that much of a difference when it comes to building muscle? No, I think intra-workout shakes are pure garbage. I think it's just another marketing ploy from the supplement industry. You've got your pre-workout shakes, your post-workout shakes, and now they're thinking, well, hey, wait a second. Why don't we get some more money out of these suckers and introduce an intra-workout shake? So I don't think intra-workout shakes offer any benefits. And you can sit there and say, well, they've got BCAAs and all. Okay, if you want to take BCAAs, I take a BCAA product, and I do it purely for the flavor. I get sick of drinking water all day, so I drink a BCAA powder that gives me a little bit of flavor. It's sweetened with stevia. But I don't drink it for intra-workout. I just drink it throughout the day because I like the taste. If you're having a good pre-workout meal and a good post-workout meal, that should be more than enough. I don't really have anything against certain pre-workout powders. I mean, a lot of them you have to watch because they're loaded with stimulants. But if you get a good pre-workout powder or just even a cup of coffee, that should be more than enough to give you some boost of energy if you need it. But as far as, I don't even do post-workout shakes. I don't believe in them. Rarely do I recommend them to clients. Maybe the odd program, if I'm working with someone who I need to add on more weight to because their metabolism is so crazy fast, I might add in a post-workout shake, but rarely. I like food. I like solid food. And I don't think intra-workout shakes have any benefits whatsoever. And you have to remember this, the so-called studies that they do are from the supplement companies. So they're not like, these are biased studies, and anything, pretty much 95% of the crap that comes out of the supplement industry is pure garbage. So I wouldn't recommend wasting your money on an intra-workout shake. I don't think it offers any benefits whatsoever. If you do what I do and just buy a BCA powder sweetened with stevia, that just because you enjoy the taste and it helps you drink more water, by all means do that. But don't do it because you think it's going to give you an extra edge and it's going to help you build more muscle, because it won't. All right, guys, let's get to the last question here. Okay. Hi, Nick. Is it better to work out in the morning or in the evening? I start work at around 8:30 and finish around 4:30. I read that your body burns more fat if you work out in the morning, and was wondering if I should switch my evening sessions to morning. Thanks, and I'm really enjoying your Q&A. Thank you. Okay, so when it comes to working out in the morning versus the evening, I personally don't think you're necessarily going to burn more fat by putting your workout in the morning. That's more of a cardiovascular exercise issue. We talked about that when it comes to if you're trying to burn fat, to do your cardio in a fasted state or immediately after your workout. So for example, if you are trying to lose weight, the optimal times to lose that weight doing your cardio sessions is either first thing in the morning in a fasted state when you wake up, get out of bed, or immediately after your workout. So if you're someone that's doing cardio and you're trying to lose weight and you work out in the evening, all I would do is say, okay, you go to the gym, you have your pre-workout meal, you do your weights, and then you do your cardio right after your weight workout, your 20, 30 minutes of cardio, done. If you work out in the morning, you could do fasted cardio if you like, and then eat something quickly and then go do your weight workout, or eat something before you leave the house, do your weight workout, and again, just do your cardio after your workout. It doesn't really matter if you're working out in the morning, the afternoon, or evening. That's irrelevant. You have to work what works with your schedule. If you find that you have more energy working out at 5 o'clock at night versus 5 o'clock in the morning, then work out at that time. I've done both. I've worked out. I used to work out in the early mornings before I became a trainer. And then once my roster filled up, I started working out in the afternoons, and I haven't noticed one difference. So no, I don't think that you're going to burn necessarily more fat if you work out in the morning, because again, it depends on your lifestyle. The argument could be made that if you work out in the morning, you're going to be actually more hungry throughout the day, so you might overeat, right? Who knows? Whereas if you work out at night, you're going to go home, have one meal, go to bed. So arguments can be made on both sides. And I don't think one time is necessarily more optimal to train at the other time. The important thing is that you're just training. So just fit your workout in when you can. Morning, night, afternoon, whenever you can. That's going to be ideal. It doesn't really make a difference if you're training 5 a.m., 6 a.m., or you're training at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night, or you're training at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Whatever works with your work schedule and your life schedule, just plug your workout into that time. And I promise you, you will get results. Okay. So don't worry about whether you're going to burn more fat if you train in the morning versus night, because again, you won't. There's no science that backs that theory. Just do what you can and work out as hard as you can, diet clean, and yeah, you'll get your results. Anyway, guys, that's it for this week's Q&A. Should be going up later on this evening, Thursday night. If you have any questions related to dietary nutrition, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com or Instagram them to me at my _ at fitcosgrove _ DM them to me. And just a reminder, if you do want to support Anti-Bullying Week, you can go to pinkshirt.ca, put in the description the link below, and donate today. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a good night, and I will see you next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.